I'm reminding you of what is entailed in topic 4, structure and functions of the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology. So this one is broken into 3. We have to see the structure itself, and we see these different organized, specialized agencies, and again, other related agencies. What do we mean by a structure? So sorry, there are some raising hands, but I am suggesting, please put it in writing in the wall, in the chat, so that I will see it later, so that we move. Pascal, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I think just as you have resolved that, you take us through a bit slow on the continuation part. That will serve as the best purpose, as we will see how best you can maybe take us back once you have covered what you want to cover.
When we are talking of a structure, it's a framework. It's a framework of formal relationship which is established in an organization. And the purpose of a structure is to assist in regulating, directing, and coordinating the organization. The purpose is to assist in regulating, directing, and coordinating the organization's objective. Remember, in an organization, there are objectives. So let's see what is this structure of the Ministry of Education. It doesn't have all the details, but it is just a bit of what is there in connection with the functions which we are to define. Starting from the minister. Remember, this was done before the current way. We don't say Minister of Education. Then there are 2 assistants. And in these 2 assistants, I hope you are seeing the screen. In these 2 assistants, they are professionals, but there are others who are administrators. So, under the minister, there is a permanent secretary. And now, after the permanent secretary, it is broken now. We have those who are administrators on one side, and we have these who are professionals on the other side. So when we are talking of education secretary being under permanent secretary, under education secretary 2, we have this one nice right here, DEB. I'm talking of Director of Basic Education. Hope this is clear because it is failed. It was supposed to be written in white, in black, but I can rectify before I send you the slides. There is under the education, there is Director of Basic Education. There is again DHE, Director of Higher Education. There is DQAS. We are talking of Director of Quality Assurance and Standards. We also have DPP, Director of Policy. Under Director of Basic Education, we have SDDE, Senior Deputy Director of Education. And under this personnel, there is DDE. I have given in the slide down the meaning of the initials, but I was doing it very fast before the lesson starts. Hoping all is there. There is DS here, and DS means Deputy Secretary. When we are talking of US, we are talking of Under Secretary. This structure may be old and may not be very practical. Some initials might not help us much. But to me, and the target of this structure is to know that under the permanent secretary, there is both education secretary and there is senior deputy secretary. And our point of interest even is to go down to this DHRO, District Human Resource Officer. So these initials, our main thing is we are to see some of them, their functions, but not all of them. Because we are to see what is it the work of this which we are calling Director of Basic Education, Director of Higher Education, these directors. Because we are only to narrow it down where it is affecting us direct. Let's see the function of the minister being the top. We are not saying nowadays Minister of Education. This responsibility, the person is to promote education for the people of Kenya in line with the national plan for socio-economic development. This personnel promotes education. Again, develop institutions devoted to the promotion of education in Kenya, trying to develop different institutions which promote education in the country, tries to secure effective cooperative of all public bodies which are concerned with education. Another function is to regulate. Regulating the provision that the education is provided, coordinating the national policies, that the policies are being applied which relate to education, trying to formulate the development plan for education, establish advisory councils on education issues if need be, like if something is to be solved, a council can be established to solve such, like the current one of school unrest. Delegating his duties to local authorities where applicable, where there is a need. There is something to do with integrity. This numbering is not helping. It is an error when I was trying to prepare the slide. So it doesn't mean it is number 4, but the important thing is the information. To make decisions solely in the public interest without considering the private interest. Just a minute. I was trying to check about the slide. Sorry. I'm coming back. There is a slide which is misplaced here. This should not be here. Are you seeing the slide? Are you seeing that slide of regulation of provision of education? Somebody to...
Yes, yes.
Okay, that's fine. This slide, which is next, is not a continuation. It's a mistake. That's why it's not making sense. So the functions of the roles of the minister is this, which I've mentioned: promoting education, developing institutions, securing effective cooperative of all public, it should be cooperation of all public bodies. And these ones, but not this, integrity and legitimacy, it's good I'm noting it so that I don't send you, because it was a slide for the earlier education acts. Let's go to the permanent secretary. This is the accounting, authorizing and revenue collector of the ministry, and is the overall policy formulator and implementer of the ministry's policies. This is the person who implements the policies of the ministry. Again, this person oversees the day-to-day management of the ministry and advises the minister on the day-to-day management of the ministry. Then there is this education secretary. This is the professional head of the ministry, and this one is answerable to the permanent secretary. And the work is to formulate policy direction in education, to develop curricula for schools and colleges, registering of schools. For a school to be registered, it has to go through this office of the education secretary. Again, when the discipline level, the highest, it's disciplining of students, promotion of teachers. That is in the target of education secretary. Then we have directors. There are 4 directors of basic, of higher education and planning and policy and quality assurance. So this one for the basic is responsible for ECCD, primary education, school health and feeding program, the textbooks, appointments of district education boards, advising the ministry also on the matters which pertain to special needs education. Which are these matters? I think it is given here that special needs schools to be established and units. This is in the target of Directorate of Basic Education. Another one is about capitation for special needs education schools, about the money, exams for children with special needs, promotion of education of children with special needs, establishment of cooperative linkages with stakeholders who are working in the area of special needs. So anything to do with special needs, it's mainly in this. Then we go to higher education. This one is responsible for the implementation of policies on secondary and higher education. Coordinates secondary school education, diploma teaching training colleges, guidance and counseling in higher education sectors, budgeting and disbursement of bursaries to constituencies and university grants, promotion of higher education for persons with special needs, or persons with disabilities. They again manage of voluntary services in the education sector, facilitate access to local and overseas post-secondary education, advising on the deployment of post-secondary institutions. I'm trying to see this management of voluntary services. At times we have donors or people coming to offer voluntary services like VSO. This should pass through this target of Directorate of Higher Education. Then Directorate of Planning. They plan, development and review. They are responsible for planning, development and reviewing of policies which are in education sector. They maintain the accurate education statistics. We are talking of how many students or children or pupils. They are the ones with the statistics. Reviewing the education policies, including those related with special education, coordinating education projects in the country, coordinating of, this is a body, coordinating of CASP secretariat, it should be capital, collecting and maintenance of data bank on special needs education. Lastly is the Directorate of Quality Assurance, called PASO. They monitoring implementation of school performance and standards. They establish curriculum-based establishments in learning institutions. This could be CBC. Establish of public teacher ratio in learning institutions. Advising TSC on teacher needs. They also determine the teacher ratio on children with special needs, because sometimes it is generally considered you have to handle 50, while it is not practical for a place for children with special needs. They supervise EACs. EACs, these are Education Assessment and Resource Centers officers in the country. We will see more about EACs in the next slides. In the Directorate of Quality Assurance and Standards, there is an officer. Okay, I'm talking of the very officer in charge of education assessment. This one, the one I'm talking of, EACs. It's so important for you to know, because having done special needs and education, you cannot do without this personnel. And it is good to be in your fingertips now. What is this person? What is this officer? And what is the responsibilities? They provide guidance and counseling to parents with children who have special needs. This used to be in the original places we called districts. So for now, they should be in sub-counties. They liaise with relevant associations in the area of special needs education. Like you are teaching in a school, you realize a child has a problem with seeing, the child can be referred to be assessed by an EAC in the district, in the sub-county. They organize seminars and workshops for parents on how to take care of their children who have special needs. They have a lot of workshops with parents or even teachers. They liaise with the ministry, providing services to the children with special needs. They refer children, like this child has been assessed and found to be having a problem with hearing. So a child first might be referred to an ENT doctor, referring children with special needs to relevant and appropriate programs for intervention. Again, they assist in the establishment of small homes and units for children with special needs. They are the ones who realize in this school A, there are 3 or 4 children who have come for assessment. So there is need to open a class for special. So these are the units which are opened in schools. They hold seminars. It is still a continuation of the functions of EACs. They hold seminars and in-service courses for teachers, health and social workers and communities at large on how to train children with special needs in education. Remember, these children, maybe they are in a boarding school, they will need, there are social workers again who attend to them, and maybe they need to know about sign language. There are a number of seminars to be done. Assisting learners with disabilities to acquire assistive devices. We are talking of to get wheelchairs, to get glasses, to get to get standing frames. They collect again the data on children with special needs, like they can record and say, we have this number of children in this particular sub-county. They coordinate special needs education associations at the different district levels. For now, it is sub-counties. They advocate for children with special needs. They carry out functional assessment. This is where a child is brought to them, they assess, and they write even placement letter that this child should go to a special school for the deaf, or a special school for the visually impaired, or should be integrated in the normal class. They also carry out visits of homes. There are children who are at home who are not able to come, or who need therapy, who need things to be made at home to learn to walk. So sometimes they are forced to visit homes so that they make locally available materials, advise the parents on how to make locally available materials to help the child. What support do we get from the departments in the ministry? There are some support departments. Remember, we didn't handle all. I only mentioned a few. These support departments which we have in the ministry, I was very particular in EACS because it is the core in your training. We have departments like finance, accounts, audit, supplies and procurement, information management systems unit. We have human resource division, and we have education boards. But to narrow it down to the one which seems to affect us direct is this one which we are talking of, human resource division. What do? They do capacity building for the ministry. Yeah, when we have workshops for capacity building for teachers, it is normally organized by HRO. Calculation of personal emoluments, processing retirement and benefits, even talking of pensions, deployment and disciplining of officers. They advise the permanent secretary on the personnel matters. They also liaise with the Ministry of State for Public Service on appointments, deployments, promotion, and discipline of staff in the ministry. Let's see about the education boards and the field officers. I'm mentioning a few: the National Education Advisory Board, the Provincial Education Board, the District Education Board, the National Education Advisory Board. What is the function of District Education Board? They manage education services in the district. Now it is in the sub-county. They manage the teachers. They have to do auditing of schools, supervision of education programs which are in the sub-county. They account for funds and they receive grants or grants in aid. They again have to see of quality assurance, and they have to mobilize the resources. They advise the ministry on the establishment of new schools. Yeah, if there are some new schools which are to be opened, it's the advice of the DEP to give to the ministry. Then there is the role of DEO in special needs education. We are narrowing down towards our line, special needs education. What do? They implement government policies regarding special needs education. They help cultivate a positive attitude towards SNE. Again, they try to advocate for these children and ensure each school has enough teachers who are trained in special needs education. The DEO. They also ensure that children with special needs are taken to school and admitted. Yeah, at times it takes time to get an admission, but takes the intervention of the DO to push things to move. They ensure school management committees support special needs. They encourage again the schools to practice inclusion of all persons. They ensure the creation of disability-friendly environments. That the environment is disability-friendly. To push the school to have some renovations to allow students or pupils who are on wheelchairs. Ensure learning materials are available in schools for these children with special needs. Remember, for example, these schools for children with visual impairment. They might not need books which we use, but they will need the one which they use to write braille. They again establish units and schools for learners with special needs. This one is working hand in hand with IACS. Then the function of the Board of Governors. We are talking of this in education institutions. Yeah? So they ensure that the official ministry's policies and guidelines are adhered to. They carry out the planning of the school, BOG. They oversee the delivery of education programs. They mobilize resources. They utilize and account for the same. They try to manage teachers who are posted to their institution, because at times you have few teachers and the children are many. So they are to see how we are to organize. This is where they come in saying they employ even teachers who are not yet employed by the government to help in the teaching. They also manage non-teaching staff in the institution. And they try to identify the members of a local school board for a regular secondary school. Just a minute, I'm trying to remove something in the slide. Like this school A, there is another school which is starting. They try to identify the members of a local school, the one which is more local than the existing one, for a regular secondary school and a special school. That is what members of the board can do. Then we have another role here of what do the communities do in the promotion of special needs education. Because they are supposed to create a positive attitude towards persons with disabilities. And they are supposed to participate in community rehabilitation program. That is what the community should do. Here comes children who need wheelchairs or who need therapy. Maybe they can again mobilize and have some locally made things to help in mobility. Supporting parents who have children with special needs. The community support these parents to take their children to school, because they are the ones who blow the whistle. Here is a child who stays at home. They ensure schools have disability-friendly environments, and they mobilize additional school resources for use by children with special needs. Even if books and the rest are provided, at times the community are to mobilize to produce other things which they use for self-help skills, like having buckets, having soap, having handkerchiefs for children who are having mental challenges. They work with district children's office to support the implementation of Children's Act and Persons with Disability Act. You know, these to be implemented. These are the people in the ground to see it's working. and they work with the district children's officer. A particular family may know that there is a child who is being defiled, and maybe the parents are not there. They take the step, that is now community, to report the case to children's officer in handling the story of Children's Act and the Disability Act, ensuring safety of children with special needs in their neighborhood. Yeah, do we have bumps along the road near home? Do we have, like at times there are some barriers which are put in the road? Donating land for school construction or expansion, for it to be expanded. That is what the community can do. That is it about the first structure and functions. Let's go to other organized agencies. We have 20 minutes. We have organized agencies, stroke specialized agencies. We are talking of KICD. Originally it was KIE. What do? They conduct research and prepare the syllabuses, which we use in our preschools, in our primary schools, in the teacher education, and in post-school technical and business, adult, continuing, and special educations. Its key function is the development of syllabi and teaching materials, again, which are to be used. So it adapts curriculum for learners with special needs. It also prepares curriculum that's used at KISE and other SNE program. This which we are doing of management of special need program, it was developed by KICD. When we are talking of adapting the curriculum, we have the usual curriculum which we use. I give an example of grade 4. The way it is written, maybe we have a child who has a problem with the hand. Writing takes so long because maybe there are only 2 fingers than the 5. So the set rules that in an exam you finish 2 hours. Adjusting, more time should be given to such children. That is part of an adjustment which is to be done. Let's go to TSC functions. This is a repetition. Establishing, keeping a register for teachers, establishing and maintaining teaching force, which is adequate to the needs of public schools, carrying out teacher management. We are talking about recruiting, employing, and deploying registered teachers for services in public schools in Kenya. They can remunerate, promote, and discipline employed teachers because they're able to tell which grade is equivalent to which salary. They delegate to any person or body with the consent of the ministry any of its powers. We are talking of agents of TSC. Keep under review the standards of education. Remember, they are down to the level of our head teachers. There are some things which the head teachers do. They are the agents of TSC, which not the TSC officer coming direct to handle that. They keep under review the standards of education, the training, the fitness to teach appropriate to persons entering the service. To see that when you are being trained in this and this, you are fit to teach this and this. Like you cannot train to be a P1 and you are taken to teach in high school or the other way around. They render advice to the ministry on the matters related to management of teachers. They compile and publish a code of regulation which applies to all. The code of regulation which I'm sent to you, it applies to all the teachers who are employed by the commission, and from time to time, they have to modify and amend the code of regulations in such a manner that things fit. Because at times some things are to be adjusted according to the need of time, so they have to review. They refuse to register an unsuitable person as a teacher. So at times one applies to be registered, but maybe you don't have all the requirements. So these are the TSC now will refuse to register such. Then we move to NEC. They develop both school and post-school examinations other than university. Because university students do not do a NEC exam. They register candidates for examinations. They also administer and process exams, and again certification. They give the certificates. They also do research into examinations and the curriculum. They have to see, is this curriculum helping the Kenyan child or not? This is after doing a research. Equation of certificates from other examining bodies. At times somebody goes to do a teacher training outside Kenya. So when you come with your documents. They have to see, to equate the certificates from other examiners. Sorry, that is wrong. I'm talking of you have not done a NEC exam. You have done, maybe there is a body which trains P1 teachers or a diploma teachers, and they give you diploma certificate. That diploma certificate, it's the work of the NEC to come to see if what you learned equates that certificate. Not the one from outside the country. That is for higher education directors. They also advise the minister on matters which relate to examinations. Let's see briefly about KISE. They train teachers and other personnel in the field of special needs education, because we also have people who would want to know sign language, who are not teachers, who are preachers, or who are working in schools for children who are hearing impaired. So those are some of the other personnel. They conduct in-service courses for personnel working in all fields in special education. They run an educational and functional assessment center for training of teachers and other personnel for early intervention. We are talking of EACs. The ones I told you should be in the sub-counties. All of them were trained here in KISE, where I am now. So KISE trains such personnel. And these EACs are the ones who do the early intervention. I mean, they recommend what should be done to the child after they assess, and they place children. They give letters that you have to be taken to the school for this type of disability. And again, rehabilitation of children with special needs. Here again in KISE, there is rehabilitation. We rehabilitate by offering therapy, those who have a problem with walking, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy. Again, those with a problem with vision. You have just lost vision, so you come here for rehabilitation of how to use wheelchair or how to survive when you are not seeing anymore. To run a regular model school for the inclusion and stimulation, sure, we have a model school. It is a preschool, which we are trying to demonstrate inclusion. How practical it is to have children despite of disability. A child who is not having a disability, one who is not seeing, one who is not hearing, one who has autism, put together to try to see how this. So it is to run a regular model. Visit KISE one time so that you see this. in our KISE preschool. Children with special needs for purposes of training. Okay, it was the earlier point of to run a regular model school for the inclusion and stimulation of these children who are having special needs. To function is another point, to function as a national resource center for collection, production, documentation, and dissemination of information on SNE. KISE should be giving the information. We have a national resource center, a big library, where you can get different books documented, where again, here again, you are supposed to get the information of what is the picture we have of persons with disability in the country. To conduct research in special needs and dissemination information in general public, we should, and we do at times, give information in the different media for people, for the public to understand about special needs education, to design, produce, and maintain educational resources. Here comes a child who needs a special chair. Here comes a child who needs a special reader or something to place the book to read because of the disability. It can be found in the workshop in KISE. Again, devices for persons with special needs education. These things which are used, we are talking about. The ones I was mentioning are devices. A child might need a special chair, which has a place to put the book or to lean on. So that can be made here in KISE workshop. So we move to this one, which is Kenya Education Staff Institute. What are we talking about? This is an organization. This organization, it is for education staff, which liaises with various departments in the Ministry of Education in assessing the staff development. Is like trying to picture out are teachers being developing in the training, assessing the staff development and training needs for the purpose of this. They sit and design. It's like there is a lack in this area. We need to train our teachers on this program. Designing appropriate training programs, that's the work of Kenya Education Staff Institute. They organize and conduct training for the personnel who are involved in the administration and management of those programs in the education sector, including those in special schools, those in institutions, again, designing instructional materials for use in the dissemination of managerial and administrative skills. You are administrator. What skills do you need? What instructional materials do these managers or administrators need? They run an educational advisory consultancy. They advise, they consult, and resource center. There is something disturbing me here in the screen. Running an educational advisory, consultancy, and resource center with a view of providing services on effective and efficient planning, implementation, and evaluation of education programs. So they do advise the planners, they do advise the administrators, so that there is a good evaluation of the program which is being given. Okay, we have other related agencies. We only had 2 agencies. This one off. Sorry. We have 2 other related agencies, Kenya Literature Bureau, and Jomo Kenyatta Foundations. The Kenya Literature Bureau, its function, it is to publish, it is to print, it is to distribute a variety of books, a variety of periodicals or journals and magazines. These are in education purposes. They promote through appropriate government agencies the production of low-cost books and materials. Remember, it's a government. There is this one, promote, encourage, and assist Kenyan authors. They promote and assist Kenyan authors through financial incentives or otherwise, so that they promote many who are to be authors of books, because when incentives are given or gifts, they are encouraged to proceed. There's a problem here in the slide, just a minute. They avail general readership to read general readership works of interest and value to the public through translation for foreign to local languages. They again organize competitions in respect of literacy contributions suitable for publications by the Bureau and granting prizes or reward on such terms as it may deem fit. They sell educational materials and reasonable prices to schools and to other educational institutions. Next is Jomo Kenyatta Foundation. It was established by the Ministry of Education in 1996, and the main function is printing, publishing, distributing educational books and materials. They provide financial support to disadvantaged students. Remember, it's a foundation through the Jomo Kenyatta Foundation Scholarship. I beg to stop from there because our remaining topic is the role of Ministry of Education in the management of special needs. That one we will discuss in our next episode, in our next lesson, that is tomorrow. I don't want to start a new topic, and maybe I only give a chance to, yeah, I'm unmuting somebody, Anura.
Yes, I'm Anyira. Good evening, madam.
Sauti inaisha.
Oh, yangu ama yako?
Yangu.
Oh, sawa sawa.